Hey, Newt Gingrich met with Donald Trump yesterday. There's a good combination. 2 guys, 6 wives, 0 chance of either one of them ever becoming president of the United States. I don't know how it's going to happen.
Okay. Once upon a time, it was Donald Trump. Then it was Michelle Bachmann who was surging. Then Texas Governor Rick Perry was up in the polls. And then Herman Cain until that fizzled out like last week. Well, now it's Newt Gingrich's turn. The former House Speaker is now leading in the polls in key states, even though he's coming under growing fire for his record, his flip-flops, and his personal and his political baggage. So, Christian Schneider, is the Gingrich boomlet going to last?
Barack Obama has a nice cold bottle of champagne they're waiting to pop the cork when they announce that Newt Gingrich has won the Republican nomination. I mean, Republicans are about to nominate a guy who is the one person that cannot beat Barack Obama. If there was an organization of people named Newt Gingrich couldn't win the presidency of that group. So I don't understand it. Okay. He's the anti-Romney for the time being. I can't see him with the staying power.
Well, the Republicans have a real problem in that they've got 2 significant factions. One, the kind of institutional Republicans who like Romney, and the other's the Tea Party group that's split between Ron Paul and Newt Gingrich or Cain or whoever is the flavor of the day. They've got a real problem here. And bringing that together is going to be a real problem. There have been some interesting speculation that raising the possibility that another candidate could jump into the race.
Is that remotely possible?
Oh, I hope so. I sincerely hope so. Look, politics, a lot of it's about showing up and about timing. Yeah. And Gingrich's surge is coming right on the heels of the Iowa caucuses, and it's lining up where he could win Iowa, come in second, or win in New Hampshire, win in South Carolina, and then...
So you think it is possible that Newt Gingrich actually could win this nomination?
It is possible.
Even though, see, I think there's a huge divide about Newt Gingrich, and it's not between liberal and conservative and establishment and not. It's people who've actually worked with Newt Gingrich, people who know Newt Gingrich, people who actually know what his track record is, and people, on the one hand, and then people who've just heard him. He's very good in the debates. But you want to talk about a flawed candidate. I mean, whether you're talking about his ego, whether you want to talk about his, selling out and, feeding at the trough of Fannie and Freddie, I got to tell you, to be brutally honest here, I'm trying to figure out what is going on in the minds of my fellow conservatives that they would even think this is plausible.
I agree with Christian. Yeah. God is smiling down on the Democrats right now, because if he becomes the Republican nominee, Obama's won. I mean, it's just, and then, of course, the comedians will have a heyday for the next, until the election. It's just a nightmare for the Republican Party, in my opinion.
Here's my concern. The campaign needs to be about Obama's failures, his failed vision for America, and the need to get things back on track. And if Newt Gingrich is our nominee, it's going to be about Newt Gingrich and Newt Gingrich's ideas. Scott Klug had a great take
former
on
congressman.
Former congressman from Madison area. He said, Newt Gingrich has 10 ideas every day.
Right.
2 are great, 6 are weird, and 2 are really weird. And that's the problem, is the unfocused nature of this, the personal baggage and everything else. And then we lose track on the fact that the last 3 years have been an abysmal fast walk toward socialism and redistribution of wealth. That's what we need to be talking about.
Okay, now, Christian, the conventional wisdom up until maybe 3 weeks ago was that whatever's going to happen, Mitt Romney is going to eventually be the nominee because he's the only acceptable, be the last man standing. Do you still think it'll play out that way? I mean, if you had to bet right now who will end up being the nominee?
Well, the one constant in all the the rise and fall that you've seen from Bachmann and Perry and all these other people is Mitt Romney. He's always been exactly where he is. He's got a solid 25% right now, and so I think he's going to be there at the end. You may even see someone else rise and flame out, a guy like Huntsman or somebody. But
John Huntsman.
Yeah, but I think Romney is still is still the leader.
Republicans always nominate the person whose turn it is to run for president. Yeah. It's Romney's turn. They will nominate Romney.
Except the politics is different. I think what's interesting is watching right now that you have the Gingrich surge. He doesn't have much organization. I think that people were impressed with his debate performance. But you're starting to see now the negative attacks. You have from Ron Paul attacking him for his serial hypocrisy. You have Mitt Romney, who launched a new ad on Friday in Iowa using Paul Ryan, using Gingrich cutting Paul Ryan off at the knees. So you're starting to see most of the pundits beginning to remind people, you understand this was the guy who was lobbying for ethanol. This is the guy who was lobbying for Fannie and Freddie. Given the substance here, it's going to be very hard for Newt Gingrich to survive the attacks from the left and the right and everybody on this. The question is whether or not the balloon will lose altitude before Iowa.
Well, maybe
And,
the left won't attack Gingrich. Maybe that's who the left would love to run against.
They don't have. Of course, that's who they. Of course, that's who they want to run against.